The stars shimmered above the grand palace, their light stretching across the polished crystal floors like thin threads of silver. Captain Elia's reign had never seen anything like it. Even after decades of space exploration, charting uncharted worlds and meeting countless alien species, the sight of the palace of Queen Ilyara of the Velaryon kingdom left him speechless. Every surface gleamed with perfection, yet there was an almost organic quality to the architecture. Towers twisted like spiraling vines and bridges of translucent energy-connected platforms that hovered midair. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly alien. Elias adjusted his uniform nervously. Humans had made contact with the Velaryons only a few months ago, but the political tension surrounding their meeting was palpable. The Queen's advisors had insisted on a formal audience. To say Elias felt out of place would be an understatement. He wasn't a diplomat. He was a soldier, a man of action, a leader of explorers, and the last thing he was trained for was attending a court filled with beings who towered over him by several feet, with skin that shimmered faintly like liquid metal. "Captain Rain," one of the attendants said, stepping forward with an elegant bow that seemed almost like a dance, "the Queen awaits." His mind ran through a dozen strategies, none of which seemed adequate. He reminded himself to breathe. At the main hall, he finally saw her. Queen Ilyara was seated upon a throne that seemed to float slightly above the ground, encircled by a halo of soft light. Her presence was commanding, yet there was a warmth in her gaze that contrasted with the rigid formality of her attendants. Beside her stood Princess Liara, a tiny figure in comparison, even smaller than the average human child. Yet her eyes, bright, intelligent, and uncommonly sharp, locked onto Elias instantly. "Mom, that's him," whispered the princess. The hall fell silent. Every Velaryon in the room seemed to freeze. Even the attendants paused mid-step, unsure whether to continue. Elias froze as well. He had no idea what the princess meant. Queen Ilyara's eyes widened slightly, and then she straightened in her seat, her composure returning almost immediately. "Captain Rain," she said, her voice calm but resonating with authority. "You honor us with your presence. Please do not be alarmed by my daughter's remark. Come forward." His boots made a soft, hollow sound against the crystal floor. Every eye in the room followed him. He felt as if the weight of centuries of alien expectation pressed down on his shoulders. He could sense the tension in the room. The council members whispered quietly among themselves, eyes darting between him and the princess. Liara, the princess, did not avert her gaze. She studied him with such intensity that it was unsettling. She tilted her head slightly, as if weighing him, measuring him, understanding things he did not know existed. Elias tried to smile politely, but the gesture felt awkward in the alien silence. Queen Ilyara motioned for him to kneel, a gesture he understood from the cultural briefings as one of respect, though it was optional. He lowered himself on one knee, keeping his posture straight and formal. "You carry the mark of your ancestors," the queen said slowly, almost reverently. "A mark we thought lost. Tell me, Captain, do you know what this means?" "He does," she spoke with confidence, almost a certainty that made the room still even more. "He doesn't know it yet, but he does." Queen Ilyara leaned forward slightly. "Your ancestors formed a pact with the Velaryon people, one that ensured balance between our worlds. It was a promise made across generations. It is rare for the lineage to continue unbroken, yet here you stand." He had always thought of humanity as new to interstellar politics, a young species still finding its place among the stars. Yet, if what she said was true, he carried a legacy far older than he realized. The princess, still observing him, finally took a step forward. Her small figure moved with a grace that seemed impossible for someone her size. She held out a hand, tiny but firm. "I will help you understand," she said softly. "But first, we must see if you are ready." Ilyara's face hardened slightly. "There are challenges ahead. Others will not welcome your arrival, Captain. Some fear what you represent. You must be cautious, for your presence alone changes the course of many plans." Every mission he had ever led, every battle he had faced, seemed small compared to the labyrinth of politics, history, and expectation he now entered. Yet beneath the uncertainty, a spark ignited within him, a mix of curiosity, determination, and something he could not name. Humanity had always adapted, always found a way to survive and thrive in impossible circumstances. Perhaps he thought this was another such moment. Liara tilted her head again, her large eyes reflecting the shimmering light of the hall. "Do not be afraid, Captain. I have watched the stars. I have seen humans in stories, and I have seen one in the flesh. You are different. You will surprise them." We shall see, but for now you will remain within the palace walls. You must rest, observe, and prepare. The council will meet at first light. Your presence will be requested, and your skills, both human and inherited, will be tested. Through the transparent walls, he could see glowing flora that defied gravity, streams of liquid light flowing across the gardens below. The room itself seemed alive, responding subtly to his presence with a soft hum and gentle changes in illumination. As he settled onto the simple yet elegant bedding, he reflected on what had just happened. Humanity, so young and often underestimated, now had a direct connection to one of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful civilizations. He felt the pressure, yes, but also a surge of pride. Perhaps this was the moment he had been preparing for, even if he hadn't known it. The tiny princess visited him before he slept. She perched on a floating cushion, legs crossed, her eyes glowing softly in the ambient light. "Tomorrow begins the first step," she said. "And Captain, remember this. Humans are clever, resilient, and unpredictable. Do not underestimate yourself, for others will try to." Somehow, despite the alien grandeur and the weight of expectation, he felt ready. The future of humanity, it seemed, had just become intertwined with the fate of another species. And he, a simple human captain, was at the center of it. As the stars outside the chamber winked like distant eyes, Elias allowed himself to close them, letting sleep wash over him. Tomorrow he would step into a world of tests, intrigue, and discoveries. And somehow he had the feeling that nothing in his experience, no battle, no exploration, no encounter, would prepare him for what awaited. But for now, in that quiet, floating chamber, he let himself hope. And hope, he realized, was the first step toward greatness. The morning light filtered softly through the floating crystal windows of the palace. Captain Elias' Rain awoke to a quiet hum that seemed to pulse gently in the walls, a sound both soothing and strange. He rose, stretching as he took in the alien beauty around him. The gardens below glimmered in pale green and gold, streams of liquid light weaving among hovering flowers. He had seen countless worlds, but the Velaryon Palace was unlike anything else in the galaxy. He dressed quickly, choosing a uniform that marked him as a human envoy, yet one simple enough not to appear arrogant or threatening. Today, he would meet the Council of Velaryon leaders. These were not ceremonial figures. They held real power, and their judgments could decide whether he became an honored guest or a potential threat. As he walked through the hallways, guided by a silent attendant, he felt the weight of countless eyes. He could sense whispers behind closed doors, the quiet buzz of speculation. He reminded himself to stay calm. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, but they were clever, adaptable, and persistent. That had always been enough. When he reached the council chamber, he found it larger than he had imagined. The room was circular, with a high ceiling that arched like a dome of soft, translucent energy. Council members sat in a ring, their forms glowing faintly, a natural luminescence that shifted with their emotions. Elias counted them carefully. At least 12 figures, each radiating authority. Queen Ilyara sat on a raised platform at the far end, calm as always. Princess Liara stood nearby, watching him with the same intensity that had unsettled him the previous day. Elias bowed respectfully as instructed and waited for the queen to speak. "Captain Rain," the queen began, her voice calm and commanding, "today you will meet the council. They will question you, observe your behavior, and determine whether your presence here is safe, beneficial, or dangerous. But careful, they are not always fair. Some will test your patience, others will test your wisdom, and a few will try to test your heart. Captain Rain, humanity has a history of survival through ingenuity and resourcefulness. Yet we also know humans are prone to recklessness. Why should we trust you or your species? We choose courage. Can a human be loyal to more than his own species? Can you put the needs of another civilization above your own people? I have united people who thought they had nothing in common. Loyalty is not only about blood or species. It is about trust, honor, and the commitment to protect those who depend on you. Actions speak louder than words, Captain. Today you will begin a trial to measure your mind, your judgment, and your ability to act under pressure. This was no different. The council led him to a chamber that seemed smaller, though every wall glowed softly with information. At the center was a platform with a complex holographic display showing planets, fleets, and resources in motion. The test was simple in theory, a simulation of a crisis that threatened the Velaryon kingdom. He had to make decisions that balanced risk, resources, and lives. Elias studied the simulation carefully. He noticed patterns that the Velarayans had missed, strategies that seemed obvious to him but invisible to them. He proposed solutions that involved human ingenuity, using resources in unconventional ways, anticipating moves that the simulation expected but could not handle. The council observed silently. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Elias was focused entirely on the task, mapping out each decision and predicting its consequences. The simulation threw unexpected variables at him. A natural disaster on a nearby colony, the sudden appearance of an unknown fleet, a communication blackout that isolated key allies. He adapted. He improvised. Every move was calculated yet flexible, blending instinct with logic. The Velarayans had never seen a human approach a problem this way. When the simulation ended, the chamber fell silent. The council members exchanged subtle glances. Finally, Queen Ilyara spoke. "Captain Rain, your approach is remarkable. It is unlike anything we have trained our people to do. Humans are unpredictable, yes, but your mind is sharp and your judgment sound. You have passed the trial, though more awaits." "You did well," she said softly. "But the trials you face will not all be in simulations. Some will test your courage, your loyalty, and even your humanity. You will have to prove them wrong, not with weapons alone, but with your mind, your heart, and your actions." He had expected political challenges, trials of intellect, perhaps diplomacy. He had not expected immediate external threats. The attendants guided them to an observation platform overlooking the skies. A fleet of alien ships, foreign and ominous, was approaching the planet. They moved with precision, cutting through space like predatory birds. Their colors were dark, almost black, absorbing the light around them. Queen Ilyara appeared beside them, her calm presence a stark contrast to the fear that gripped some of her council. "They have come for you, Captain," she said. "Some fear your presence here, and some wish to see the Velaryan kingdom weakened. They underestimate the bond that can exist between species." "Then what do we do?" "You are stronger than they know." The fleet drew closer, their engines glowing ominously against the backdrop of the planet's atmosphere. The palace's defenses activated, energy shields shimmering around key structures, and defensive drones began to patrol the skies. But even as the humans and Velarayans prepared, Elias realized something important. Their strength alone would not be enough. They needed strategy, ingenuity, and trust, qualities humans had in abundance. He turned to Liara. "Show me what you know. Teach me about your defenses, your tactics, your strengths." And it begins now. The first shots of light from the approaching fleet flickered against the palace shields, and the hum of the walls rose to a steady pulse like a heartbeat. The trial had begun, and Elia's reign was ready. For humanity, for the Velaryan kingdom, and for the tiny princess who had seen something extraordinary in him, he would not fail. The palace trembled faintly as the alien fleet drew closer. Its dark hulls reflected the soft glow of the Velaryan sun, moving with precision that suggested careful calculation rather than brute force. Captain Elia's reign stood on the observation platform, flanked by Princess Liara, and watched the ships maneuver with a mix of awe and apprehension. He could feel the tension in the air, the quiet hum of the palace walls seeming to pulse faster, almost like they were aware of the danger approaching. Liara turned to him, her small frame poised with surprising authority. "This is unlike any simulation, Captain. Every decision you make now matters. One wrong move and thousands could die. But there is hope. Humans are clever. That is why you are here." Each Velaryan advisor contributed their knowledge, offering suggestions based on centuries of military experience. Yet Elias noticed gaps, assumptions that did not consider adaptability or human unpredictability. He leaned forward. "We don't just respond to them, we predict them. Their formation is linear, expecting us to act in a standard pattern. That's where we have the advantage. If we break the pattern, they won't know what to do." "He is right," she said softly. "Watch and learn." He suggested splitting the defensive fleet into smaller, unpredictable groups and using decoys to lure sections of the enemy away from the main targets. The Velaryan council murmured among themselves. Some clearly doubted him, but Queen Ilyara remained silent, watching carefully. Elias felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. Every decision could mean life or death. Liara guided him through the palace's defensive systems, showing him how energy shields could be manipulated and drones redirected in milliseconds. "The Velaryan systems are powerful," she explained, "but they are designed for control, not for creativity. That is where you come in." He set traps within the holographic simulations, projected likely enemy reactions, and proposed countermeasures that the Velaryon had not anticipated. Hours passed, and by the time the first shots of the fleet's attack reached the outer atmosphere, a plan was in place. The enemy's first strike hit the shields with a loud pulse of energy. The palace trembled and the light flickered briefly, but the walls held. Elias felt the pulse under his feet and reminded himself to stay calm. "Remember," he said to Liara, "we control how they respond, patience and precision." Small decoy ships separated from the main fleet, drawing sections of the enemy away. Hidden energy pulses created the illusion of weakness, tempting the attackers to engage in areas where they would be vulnerable. And it worked. The alien fleet, confident in its superiority, fell for the trap. Several ships became isolated, their communication disrupted by the clever manipulation of Velaryon technology combined with human ingenuity. The palace's energy beams struck precisely, disabling key weapon systems. The enemy ships that remained intact were forced into defensive positions, unsure how to respond to tactics they had never encountered. Elias watched the battle unfold, a mix of pride and tension in his chest. "Humans are adaptable," he said quietly. "We survive because we can change faster than anyone else expects." The palace sustained minor damage as some enemy strikes broke through the shields, but casualties were minimal. Velaryon medical teams worked quickly, aided by human emergency response strategies Elias had suggested, preventing chaos and panic. As the first wave of attackers retreated, Elias realized something crucial. This was only the beginning. The enemy fleet had not expected humans to be involved, and the Velaryons had never faced a threat that combined human unpredictability with their advanced technology. That combination was powerful, but it also painted a target on humanity's presence in the galaxy. Queen Ilyara entered the tactical chamber, her expression unreadable. She surveyed the aftermath, noting the effectiveness of Elias' strategy. "Captain Rain," she said finally, "you have demonstrated the value of your people, not through brute strength but through intellect and courage. You have saved countless lives today." That is what made the difference. Humans had always found a way, and he would not let them down. Liara guided him to a quieter chamber afterward, a place with walls that glimmered softly and floors that shifted subtly, adjusting to the movement of those within. "You did well," she said simply. "Better than I imagined. This is only the first challenge. The enemy you saw today is not the one that will define your journey. There are others beyond this sector who fear the potential of humans, and some will come closer than you expect. Your ingenuity will be tested in ways that simulations cannot prepare you for. And I believe you are only beginning to understand what that really means." He found that humans and Velaryons complemented each other perfectly. Where Velaryons relied on precision, humans brought unpredictability. Where Velaryons focused on advanced strategy, humans introduced creativity and intuition. Even during moments of rest, Elias could feel the weight of the galaxy pressing upon him. Messages arrived from other civilizations, both allies and neutrals, curious or cautious about the human presence. Some congratulated the Velaryons for their wise choice. Others warned that humans were dangerous, unpredictable, and potentially uncontrollable. Elias reminded himself that fear was often a sign of power. One evening, as he overlooked the gardens, Liara appeared silently beside him. "The next test is not in battle," she said. "It is in diplomacy. You will meet leaders who do not trust humans. Some will try to deceive you, some will try to use you, and some will try to destroy the trust you have built." "Exactly. And remember, Captain, you are not alone. You have allies who will stand with you, and together we are stronger than any enemy that approaches." He had survived battles, faced impossible odds, and led people through the unknown. Now he faced a galaxy that doubted humanity, and he would prove, through strategy, courage, and ingenuity, that humans could stand among the stars as equals, allies, and protectors. The enemy fleet had retreated for now, but the battle was only the beginning. And Elias Rain, human captain, stood ready to face whatever came next. The following days were tense and filled with constant activity. Captain Elias Rain had barely slept. Every morning he awoke to the soft hum of the palace walls, now a familiar rhythm, yet it reminded him constantly that the Velaryon kingdom, and now humanity's reputation, was under threat. The enemy fleet had retreated for the moment, but the intelligence reports were troubling. Their return was inevitable, and they were learning, adapting just as humans had. Elias spent hours with Princess Liara, studying Velaryon strategies and learning the intricacies of their technology. The palace was alive with energy, a network of systems that responded subtly to movement, voice, and intent. But the humans' advantage lay not in their technology, it lay in their unpredictability. Where the Velaryons were precise and methodical, humans could improvise, adapt, and turn small ideas into game-changing tactics. "Tomorrow we meet their diplomats," Liara said softly as they walked through the palace gardens, the floating flowers casting delicate reflections across the crystalline paths. "This will not be a battle of ships, but a battle of minds. Some of them do not trust humans. They believe your people are reckless, dangerous, or naive. You must show them that humans can think, plan, and act with honor. They will test you, push you, even try to trick you, and some may fail to see your worth no matter what you do." Representatives from species known for their cunning and power, some allies of the Velaryons, others more neutral, filled the room. Elias felt the weight of their scrutiny. Every gaze seemed to measure him, every whisper seemed to question humanity's place in the galaxy. Queen Ilyara presided over the session, her calm presence a stark contrast to the murmurs and restless energy in the room. "Captain Rain," she said, "you will participate in these negotiations, observe carefully, speak carefully. And remember, humans are capable of great ingenuity. Show them that you are worthy of our trust. I come not as a conqueror, not as a ruler, but as a partner. Humans have survived by learning, by adapting, and by striving to do what is right even when the odds are against us. We are not perfect, but we are capable of great courage and intelligence. And we are willing to stand with the Velaryons in protecting peace and justice across the galaxy. You have no experience dealing with threats beyond your own planets. How can you possibly contribute meaningfully to interstellar security? We may be young, but we are strong in ways that cannot be measured by age or numbers alone, and we will prove that through our actions. Yes, when required, humans act with precision, courage, and teamwork. We do not act recklessly, but we act boldly, and we learn from every challenge, every mistake, every encounter. That is what makes us valuable allies. Humans are clever, humans are strong, and you are remarkable." He proposed solutions that the Velaryons themselves had not considered, integrating adaptive tactics that could respond to rapidly changing circumstances. By midday, the diplomats were no longer just questioning him, they were listening. Some were even taking notes, consulting among themselves quietly. The Xylar diplomat, who had been openly skeptical, paused several times, evaluating Elias' proposals with a mix of curiosity and caution. Queen Ilyara finally spoke. "Captain Rain, you have demonstrated intelligence, courage, and foresight. You have shown that humanity is not only capable of standing with us, but also of complementing our strengths. I am proud to call you an ally." Reports from the Palace Intelligence Network indicated that fragments of the enemy fleet were moving stealthily, probing the outer defenses of the Velaryon kingdom. Some ships had been detected near the asteroid belts, sending signals meant to confuse and mislead. Elias convened with Liara and several council members to plan a response. "We cannot wait for them to strike," he said firmly. "We need to anticipate their moves, predict their tactics, and respond before they can act. We will use deception, speed, and adaptability. That is humanity's advantage. Small, fast ships that can navigate the asteroid belts, track enemy movements, and report back without being detected. Decoy signals would lure enemy probes away from the main fleet, while hidden drones would monitor movements, ready to intercept if necessary. Every decision emphasized adaptability, unpredictability, and coordination, a strategy that reflected the best of both species. Hours later, the first wave of reconnaissance ships launched, guided by the combined human-Velaryon crews. Elias watched the holographic displays, noting every movement, every anomaly. The enemy fleet's probes were clever, but predictable to those who could think differently. The small human teams maneuvered through asteroid fields, dodging ambushes, and using terrain and technology to their advantage. Elias realized something important. Humans had a unique quality that no alien species could replicate, the ability to improvise under pressure. Even when plans failed, humans could adapt, turn setbacks into opportunities, and find solutions that others could not imagine. By nightfall, reports came back. The reconnaissance missions had not only tracked enemy movements but also uncovered weaknesses in their formation. Several ships were damaged, communications disrupted, and morale lowered. The enemy fleet had underestimated humans, and it showed. Liara appeared at his side, eyes glowing faintly. You see, they thought humans were weak, limited, and inexperienced. But you have shown them otherwise, and this is only the beginning. Today, we have seen courage, intelligence, and innovation. Captain Rain has proven that humanity is not only capable, but essential. This is a moment of unity, a moment to celebrate what can be achieved when different peoples work together. But he had proven that humans could adapt, think, and act in ways no one expected. He had shown the galaxy that humanity's value lay not in sheer power, but in ingenuity, courage, and resilience. As he walked through the palace gardens with Liara, observing the floating lights and shimmering plants, he realized that the real battle was not just against fleets or armies, it was against doubt and fear. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy. That was their greatest advantage. Liara looked up at him. Captain, the next phase will test your limits even more. Not just strategy, but your ability to inspire trust, lead, and protect lives under pressure. And you will succeed because that is what humans do. Together, humans and Velarians, we will show the galaxy that cooperation, courage, and intelligence can overcome even the greatest threats. Humanity's ingenuity, adaptability, and courage had been proven, and he would continue to demonstrate it in every challenge to come. The night air was filled with the quiet hum of the palace, a reminder that even in the darkest hours, light and hope could guide the way. And Elia's reign, at the heart of it all, was ready to lead humanity and the Velarian kingdom toward a future where courage, intelligence, and unity could prevail. The morning sky above the Velarian palace was calm, almost serene. But beneath that calm, the tension was palpable. Captain Elia's reign stood on the observation platform, his eyes scanning the distant horizon where the enemy fleet had been reported moving steadily back toward the planet. The previous encounters had been tests, reconnaissance, and skirmishes. Now it was clear, the enemy was coming for a decisive strike. Liara joined him silently, her small figure contrasting with the immense stakes of the moment. "They are coming," she said softly. "And they are stronger than before, but you have prepared us well, Captain. Humanity has shown its strength already. Now it is time to prove it fully." He had prepared for this moment for days, blending human ingenuity with Velarian technology. Every decision, every maneuver, every hidden tactic had been planned and tested. Yet he knew that no plan survives the first encounter intact. Adaptability, improvisation, and courage would determine the outcome. The fleet appeared first as distant glimmers in space, black ships cutting through the light like shadows. As they approached, the scale became terrifying. Hundreds of vessels moved in formation, their movements precise and coordinated. The Velarian shields activated fully, a dome of shimmering energy surrounding the palace. Defensive drones launched automatically, taking up strategic positions across the skies. Elias turned to the council and the queen. "We cannot rely on defense alone. We need to disrupt their formation before they reach the palace. Our strength is in adaptability. We will strike unpredictably, divide their forces, and force them into positions where they cannot respond effectively. Together, humans and Velarians will show them what unity can achieve." Velarian energy beams struck in coordination with human tactical improvisation, disabling key weapons and forcing several enemy ships into vulnerable positions. Elias directed the movements with a calm precision, anticipating the enemy's reactions before they could fully execute them. His mind raced, predicting patterns, improvising countermeasures, and blending human unpredictability with Velarian technological power. The enemy tried to respond with overwhelming force, but the combined human-Velarian fleet moved fluidly, a web of strategy and adaptability. Ships that should have been trapped escaped, only to return unexpectedly, striking from angles the enemy did not anticipate. Drones darted through energy barriers, relaying real-time information that allowed the fleet to adjust instantaneously. Liara's voice came over the comms, calm but resolute. "Captain, the enemy is splitting their formation. They are attempting to isolate sections of our fleet. We cannot allow that." Enemy ships found themselves caught in a web of attacks from unexpected directions. Their formations broke down, communications faltered, and panic began to ripple through their ranks. The humans' ingenuity, combined with Velarian precision, turned the tide, yet the battle was far from over. One enemy command ship, larger and faster than the others, had slipped through the defenses, aiming directly for the palace. Its weapons charged, ready to pierce the energy shields. Elias took a deep breath. "This is it," he said quietly. "The final challenge. We cannot let them hit the palace." They dodged energy blasts, used asteroid fields for cover, and struck at the enemy ship's weak points with precision-guided attacks. The enemy command ship faltered, its shields weakening under the combined assault. Elias pushed the squadron to its limits, weaving through enemy fire with calculated risks. Finally, with a perfectly timed strike, the ship's engines exploded, sending it tumbling out of control and ending the immediate threat to the palace. The remaining enemy vessels, seeing their command destroyed, began retreating in disarray. The combined human-Velaryon fleet pursued selectively, ensuring no further attacks would be possible while minimizing unnecessary casualties. Elias exhaled, feeling a rush of relief and pride. Humanity had played a central role in this victory, not through sheer force, but through strategy, adaptability, and courage. Humans had shown that they were more than just a young species. They were capable, reliable, and essential allies. The palace erupted in celebration. Council members cheered, drones performed coordinated aerial displays, and even the normally reserved Queen Ilyara allowed herself a faint, satisfied smile. She approached Elias, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Captain Rain, you have done what many thought impossible. You have shown that humans are not only survivors but leaders. Today, humanity has earned a place among the stars." Humans had always adapted, overcome, and survived. Now they had shown that they could thrive alongside the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The following days were filled with recognition and gratitude. Elias worked with the Velaryon Council to strengthen defenses, improve communication, and establish permanent cooperation strategies. He trained more human officers to operate within Velaryon systems, ensuring that future challenges could be met with combined intelligence and resourcefulness. Liara remained his constant companion, guiding him through Velaryon politics, introducing him to leaders, and teaching him more about the history and culture of her people. Every lesson reminded him that humans were capable not only of survival, but of building alliances, inspiring trust, and making a lasting impact. During a quiet moment in the palace gardens, Elias reflected on everything that had happened. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy as a young and inexperienced species, underestimated and often overlooked. Yet through courage, ingenuity, and determination, they had proven themselves indispensable. Liara approached him, her eyes shining with pride and hope. "Captain, the galaxy has seen what humans can do. You have shown that our differences make us stronger together. This is just the beginning. There are many more challenges ahead, and humanity will be ready." Humans have always risen to challenges, no matter how impossible, and now we have allies who will stand beside us. Together, we can face whatever comes. Humanity has shown courage, wisdom, and ingenuity. Let this mark be a reminder that your species belongs among the stars, not as newcomers, but as equals, partners, and protectors. Humanity will continue to prove itself worthy of this honor, every day, with every action. The enemy fleet had been repelled, the palace was safe, and humanity's reputation had been secured. But beyond the immediate victory, he understood something more profound. Humans were not just participants in the galaxy. They were innovators, problem solvers, and a force for hope. The stars reflected off the crystalline towers, and the soft hum of the palace filled the air like a heartbeat. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy not merely as explorers, but as equals, capable, resilient, and inspiring. And Captain Elias Rain, human leader and strategist, stood at the forefront, ready to face whatever the universe would challenge next. As he watched the stars, he felt the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of possibility. Humans had proven themselves. They had shown that courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome even the greatest threats, and the galaxy would never doubt humanity again. Liara joined him once more, her small hand resting lightly on his arm. "This is just the beginning, Captain. Together, we will face the next challenge. And humanity will shine even brighter." And as Captain Elias Rain looked toward the future, he knew that humanity's journey among the stars was only beginning, and that together with allies like Liara and the Velaryons, there was no challenge they could not overcome.